Good afternoon. Welcome to the Martin County Sheriff's Office. I know you're here today to probably fill in the gaps on the double drowning that we had. We discovered it Monday this week. So I'll give you a little quick overview of what we know, and then just let you ask a few questions. What we have is this: a couple left a wedding which was taking place out in Canal Point, Palm Beach County. That was a wedding they were attending with friends. They left the wedding probably sometime close to midnight. We know that our female drowning victim made a phone call to a loved one sometime around 10:30 and related that they were going to leave soon, and that for some reason she mentioned that her boyfriend was going to be driving. That was the last anybody saw or heard of them until Monday of this week, when a passerby actually saw a body floating in the water by Indiantown Ave, right off of the B line or 710 here in Martin County. Of course, they called law enforcement. Our road patrol responded. Our detectives responded. Initially, we treated it as, of course, very suspicious, fearing that it was going to turn out to be a homicide. Excuse me. But through investigation, the follow-up with the medical examiner, and all the facts did point to the fact that it was not a homicide or a double homicide, but actually was a tragic accident that resulted in a double drowning. And so next of kin has all been notified. The only thing that's really left is we're waiting for autopsy reports. I'm sure one of your questions will be, was alcohol involved, drugs involved? We won't speculate on that today, but I can tell you that the results are not back yet from a toxicology. That could take a few weeks. So that's the basics of what we have. You have the names of our two victims, you have their ages, you have their addresses. They're both residents of Palm Beach County, and in the end, it was just a tragic accident. So I'll be glad to try to answer any questions you might have.
Can you tell us anything about the couple, Sheriff? Were they married? Their ages?
Yeah, their ages, and this lighting is so hard for me up here. Our female, Angela Smith, was 47. Our male victim, Vincent Thomas, was 64, and by all accounts, they were boyfriend and girlfriend, not engaged as far as we know, and not married.
And were they coming straight from the wedding and on their way home when this happened?
Yes, they were coming straight from the wedding in Canal Point. There was actually a couple ways they could have gone. One of them would have been a little more circuitous, out 27, I believe, and then one of them put them leaving Palm Beach County, then coming across into Martin, and then they would have turned back towards home on what becomes the B line out there in Palm Beach County, which is 710.
And did crash investigators get any clues as to what happened as far as the car going up the road? Were brakes applied? Was anything run over, that type of thing?
That's a good question. Did we see any sign of traditional crash? You know, brakes tearing up the grass leading into the waterway? There really was none. It looked like the car just excuse me, straightened out with kind of a mild curve and just went straight out into the water. The car did go about, from what we can tell, about 25 feet out into the water. And one of the questions that's come up is, if we found them both out of the car, which we did, cars in 25 foot of water, how did they get out of the car? We're likely never to know that. There's no seatbelt striations indicating that they were wearing seatbelts and then undid them and got out the window. We know from family members that our female victim, Miss Smith, didn't swim. So it's dark. They have no idea where they are. They're not from here. It's a 25 foot of water. The windows are open. They could have expired inside the car when it filled up with water and then floated out, or they could have actually gotten out of the car through the open windows and then drowned. But they clearly did not make it to shore.
So in what direction did you mention they were traveling from this wedding, and what exactly caused them to veer off?
Right, the question is, what direction were they? They came from the west, out in Canal Point, and they would have hit the beeline and turned back east or southeast into Palm Beach County. It's on a small little feeder road as you go out there. You'd have to take a look at Google Map, but it's actually they were on Indiantown Ave, which most people that live in Indiantown never heard of it, but that's what it's called. Just a little connection between 710, 76, and that's the way they would have gone to get home. There was nothing suspicious about the route they took. It made absolute sense. They were leaving Canal Point, wanting to go to maybe Mangonia Park, which is where he lived. In any event, they were going somewhere in Palm Beach County, and just straightened that curve out, went straight out 25 foot into the water.
So you're saying that they were on that connecting road between Canner and Lake Wharf?
Right, yeah, the question was on the connecting road, and that's the answer. It really shows up on Google Earth. If you take a look at it, it's very easy to see what happened. It's a curve, a body of water, probably water that was dug out as a rock pit, actually, for fill, for that interchange there. Okay?
And then that car you found in the pond was Smith's car or Thomas's car? That was definitely
Smith's car.
Smith's
Yeah,
car.
my detective captain is telling me it was Smith's car registered to him. So yeah, just a tragic accident. You know, we know that if you mix somebody's driving in an area where they're not familiar, it's not a well-lit area, it was extremely understandable how that could happen. And when he would have left the road, it wasn't that bumpy. We didn't see brake marks, so it looked like he just went from the surface straight through the grass and straight out into the water. Probably at a decent speed too, to get out as far as he did.
And then you mentioned Thomas was the driver earlier. Pretty interesting.
Yeah, the question was he the driver? Probably, just more speculation. It's basically irrelevant because they both expired. Now, if one of them had survived and then there was alcohol involved, then who was driving would have been extremely important. But as far as our investigation, it's an accident. They both expired. Who's driving is not nearly as important as it could have been if there had been a survivor. So we may never know who was driving.
Did anyone?
We do know that she did say to her loved one that he would be driving her home.
And that was just a phone call. That wasn't like an in-person.
It was yes, right. It was a phone call because the person she spoke with, her loved one, was not at the wedding.
Did both victims live in Palm Beach County?
Yes, both victims lived in Palm Beach County. One lived in Mangonia Park, and then the other one, I'm thinking by the address, it was unincorporated Palm Beach County.
Okay. So I know you were saying it was understandable for people who might not be from Martin County or from the area that curve can sort of sneak up on you. Is that road or that intersection, Indiantown Ave, is it like busy? Is it, are there a lot of drivers?
Yeah, your question, is it a busy road? It really isn't. I mean, people using 76 to go out towards Indiantown will use it. To get up onto 710, people coming from somewhere else will use it. So, yeah, it's not a heavily traveled road. And no witnesses came forward. Nobody came forward and said, hey, we saw this happen. So it's really, everything fits an accident. There's no sign of foul play. Medical examiners referring to this as a soft drowning, which just indicates that there was no trauma. You could have a crash into water, maybe a deploying of if the airbag deployed, or if you hit your head, you could see some minor trauma and still drown. But in this case, there was nothing. There was no trauma to any of the bodies, neither of the bodies.
As far as you know, have you ever had any other car accidents, incidents like this on this road or this area?
I'm not familiar with any. It's not it's just not a place that lends itself to accidents. There's not a lot of traffic. It's not like you back up or just a tragedy, really. Unfortunate accident. All right, y'all, thank you very much.